Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another very exciting episode of Marvel's Avengers 101. So you all know the drill at this point. After we ended up receiving the gameplay for Thor within Marvel's Avengers, we're now moving on with his Hero Week on the Marvel's Avengers Twitter page with a full-on breakdown as to how his heroic abilities are going to operate within the game. And unlike the Iron Man and Black Widow Hero Weeks, where they did keep a few select heroic abilities of theirs secret for the general player base, we do have each heroic ability described for us for Thor on the Twitter page. However, the one exception to this is actually his Assault heroic ability, which we did see in action during the very end of his gameplay sequence within the A-Day demo. So before we discuss what the Twitter page actually described for these abilities themselves, I do want to look at Thor's Assault heroic, which we do see right here. So obviously, by pressing the R1 button, we will be able to summon a plethora of mini cyclones to raise enemies up in the air and then shoot them down with a massive strike of lightning from Mjolnir. And surely, given the fact that we are able to upgrade each of these individual heroic abilities, I'm sure that once we do progress through the game, that this ability will be able to summon even more amounts of cyclones to attack even more enemies within a wider group of foes. And this doesn't just relate to Thor's case in particular, but obviously if you are surrounded by a plethora of enemies and can't get out from the fray, I highly recommend trying these heroic abilities to even the odds. Considering that the majority of them are basically giant area of effect attacks which will either benefit yourself or the players that you are fighting with, I definitely think they will come in handy more ways than one. But still, even though these special attacks will be useful during combat, I still hope there is a lot of variety to how you fight enemies within the game instead of just using these special attacks over and over again. But regardless, out of all the heroic abilities that we have heard of so far, I can definitely say that Thor's seem to be the best out of the current 5 heroes that we have seen in action. And to fully explain why that's the case, we're going to start off with the post on the Marvel's Avengers Twitter page by saying Thor's heroics bring a bit of Asgard to Earth, literally. By activating Warrior's Fury, which if you guys don't know is his support ability, and focusing his Asgardian powers, Thor is able to channel the Odin Force to imbue himself with limitless lightning strikes that arc out to assault nearby enemies. While Warrior's Fury is active, all attacks are also charged with electrical energy and inflict additional damage. Upgrading this ability will eventually channel the protective force to nearby allies. So again, even though there are a lot of other support abilities that we have heard of within these hero weeks, I definitely think Thor's is the most fitting to his character as well as the most supportive to all the other teammates on your roster. Not only will this attack deal damage to everyone around you, but you'll also be able to add increased amount of damage to your own personal attacks. Plus, unlike some of the other hero support abilities, Warrior's Fury definitely sounds like it's going to be majorly beneficial either if you're playing the game in a single player setting or a co-op format. And considering that this move is only going to get better and better once we start upgrading it, I can definitely see that this is going to be one of the most powerful moves within the entire game. And finally, we're now moving on to what appears to be Thor's ultimate ability, which sounds to be the most crazy out of all the other characters that we have seen in action so far. And as the Twitter page states, one of our personal favorite heroics, triggering Bifrost, calls upon the gatekeeper of Asgard and does what one would expect. Thor travels to another realm and then controls where a powerful torrent of cosmic energy strikes upon his return. The blast itself inflicts massive damage, but the real power of this heroic comes from its diversity. Players are able to select which realms Thor travels to when using the Bifrost, each realm changing the effect of the blast upon his return. Hashtag embrace your powers, hashtag reassemble. Now, I have absolutely no idea how this is going to work while we're actually using the move during gameplay, but by the sound of it, it just seems absolutely crazy. And considering that they are talking about the gatekeeper of Asgard, I'm sure that they are most likely referring to the one and only Heimdall. And knowing that we'll be able to actually choose where to go while using the Bifrost is going to make for a lot of cool visuals upon Thor's return while dealing damage to a massive amount of enemies. Now, as for how this move in particular could be upgraded, I could see the amount of damage increasing or possibly a different selection of location each time you use it upon Thor's return. And whether or not this means that Heimdall is just going to pop up during this move alone or possibly appear during some part of the game's story, I'm just really excited to see how he's actually going to be featured in the game regardless. And knowing that Thor is actually going to be using the Bifrost at will, I wouldn't think it'd be too far-fetched if Asgard turns out to be one of the regions that we can explore throughout the game. But still, we'll just have to wait and see as to how all this is going to fully play out. And until next time, everyone, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about all of Thor's heroic abilities, and which one is your personal favorite? Even though the ultimate ability does sound extremely crazy and awesome, I'm actually more excited to try out the Warrior's Fury move based on how cool it looked in the A-Day demo alone. And hopefully whatever Marvel Games decides to show off for Marvel's Avengers Avengers during their New York Comic-Con panel, I really hope it can build even more excitement for this game down the line. But until that time comes, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, stay merry Marvelites, and peace out.
Inventions are dangerous, Stark.
Hey, those weapons were meant for the good guys.
Is that supposed to be a joke?
Not the time! Get your heads in the game!